There's a bill making its way through the Missouri House right now that would allow public schools to offer Bible literacy classes.
We start tonight with a push to allow public schools in Missouri to teach the Bible.
House Bill 267 just cleared a committee and it's on its way to the full House.
House Bill 267, proposed by Representative Ben Baker from Neosho, would allow school districts to offer elective courses on the Hebrew Scriptures and/or the New Testament of the Christian Bible. Now, before you nope out of this video and label me a Christian-hating atheist libtard, let me go on record to say that I'm not an atheist or a liberal, and I most definitely do not hate Christians, or practitioners of any religion for that matter. If you believe in a religious deity and you want to worship it, go for it. Whatever floats your boat. That freedom is a basic tenet of what this country stands for. But with that in mind, allowing public schools to teach Bible classes is a terrible idea, and here are 5 reasons why. Number 1, the separation of church and state. In the most obvious argument against House Bill 267, we must only look to the U.S. Constitution. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Public schools are government entities, and permitting them to teach a curriculum that aims to make students literate in the Christian Bible, at the very least, is a gray area constitutionally. Court cases since the ratification of the First Amendment have only gone to further prohibit sanctioned religious activities in public schools, including a 1963 case, Abington Township School District v. Shemp, which disallowed school-sponsored Bible readings. School-sponsored prayer was outlawed the year before. House Bill 267 is artfully written to circumvent these established precedents by making the resulting Bible literacy classes akin to a world religions class, by saying that they would only be studying the Bible as a historical text or as a piece of literature. But who are we kidding? While the Bible does contain some instances of actual events, it is by no means an accurate historical record. If the purpose of the class was to study the origin of the Bible, along with the Jewish and Roman culture that influenced the literary aspects of the text, fine, go for it. But remember, the specific goal of this bill is to make students Bible literate, as in a school-sanctioned Bible study to understand the book and gain meaning. And I'm pretty sure that was prohibited more than 50 years ago. Number 2, the bill's stated rationale is faulty. The text of the bill states that the objective of these courses is to teach students knowledge of biblical content, characters, poetry, and narratives that are prerequisites to understanding contemporary society and culture, including literature, art, music, mores, oratory, and public policy. While it is undeniable that the Bible has had an impact in contemporary culture, it is errant to say that students are unable to understand society without knowing the content, characters, poetry, and narratives in the Bible. For example, proponents of Bible literacy will point to President Reagan calling America a shining city on a hill, and how detrimental it is that students do not understand that Reagan copped that phrase from Jesus, or how troubling it is that students don't realize the phrase Good Samaritan comes from the New Testament. It is frankly insulting to insinuate without Bible literacy that a student cannot understand these concepts. Do we really need to turn the Bible to Luke chapter 10 for students to understand what a Good Samaritan is? And the notion that students cannot grasp the city on the hill ideal that has weaved its way through American history without first reading the Sermon on the Mount is just ludicrous. You can be a successful, contributing U.S. citizen and illiterate when it comes to the Bible. I'm living proof. Another errant claim by Bible literacy proponents is that students cannot truly understand the founding of America without a deep understanding of the Bible. Representative Baker said in a media interview,
"When you got to the area of that the founding era, 1760 to 1805, the students that were coming out of the public school had very little, if any, knowledge of that connection."
As in between religion and the founding of the country. It is a commonly held belief among those on the religious right that America was founded as a Christian nation, so it would make sense that they think that students are at a disadvantage in understanding the founding of this country without knowing the biblical context. But newsflash, the United States was not founded as a Christian nation. In fact, the founders went out of their way to take a secular approach to the creation of this country. The Constitution contains no mention of Christianity or Jesus. That is not to say that the founders weren't religious men, but they deliberately designed the government to be one that separated church and state. And to anyone that wants to point to "In God We Trust" on our currency and "Under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance as proof that the founders were indeed creating a Christian nation, please know that "In God We Trust" didn't come about until the 1860s and "Under God" was a product of the 1950s. To continue to drive this point home, constitutional author and third president Thomas Jefferson was decidedly not Christian. He was a deist that firmly believed in God, but rejected the Holy Trinity, a belief central to most versions of Christianity. Jefferson went as far as creating his own Bible, taking the New Testament and removing instances of miracles, supernatural events, the resurrection, and any mention of Jesus' divinity. Hey, Representative Baker, can we use the Jefferson Bible for your Bible literacy classes? To summarize my point, allow me to quote another constitutional author, John Adams. Quote, "The government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion." Students do not need Bible literacy in order to understand the founding of the United States or its government. They only need a decent history class. Number 3, assuming Bible literacy classes can be taught objectively. In a continued attempt to circumvent the Constitution, the bill states, "A course offered under this section shall follow applicable law and all federal and state guidelines in maintaining religious neutrality and accommodating the diverse religious views, traditions, and perspectives of students in the school. A course offered under the section shall not endorse, favor, or promote, or disfavor or show hostility towards any particular religion or non-religious faith or religious perspective." While in theory, that all sounds great, we need to admit that that is a tall order for anybody, let alone high school teachers. For this provision to be fulfilled, we would have to be certain that the teachers of these courses had no agenda and could provide a 100% neutral presentation of biblical content. This is hard. As a friend told me, the ability to teach Bible literacy in a neutral, non-indoctrinating manner is a skill that requires a minimum of a PhD with an emphasis in history, philosophy, literature, and linguistics. High school teachers just don't fit the bill. Anyone teaching a course like this is going to have a bias. If they are Christian, they of course accept and believe the content and would be incredibly susceptible to making that known to students, be it intentional or not. If they are not Christian, they may not accept and believe the content at all, and again would be susceptible to making that known to students. What the teacher chooses to cover, how it is covered, how it is explained, and how it is interpreted all open the door for opportunities to favor or disfavor Christianity. I have a ton of faith in Missouri educators, but I do not believe that a course like this could be conducted in a strictly neutral manner without the injection of personal beliefs or disbeliefs. And we don't have to look far to see how easy it is for these classes to not be taught objectively. In 2017, Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin signed a similar Bible literacy bill into law, and since then, these courses have descended into the type of evangelizing one would see in a Sunday school. An ACLU report showed that several Kentucky high schools were using curriculum materials from a Sunday school lesson database with worksheets asking students what promises the Bible guarantees to those who believe in God. Other districts are requiring students to memorize Bible verses or watch movies with a blatant pro-Christian agenda like God's Not Dead and the 5 People You Meet in Heaven. This, by definition, is no longer objective and is a severe violation of the Constitution. I have no reason to believe that this outcome wouldn't also happen in Missouri. Number 4, teaching Bible literacy will invite immediate controversy. If you think the hubbub over schools teaching evolution or abstinence-only education is bad, just wait until we start teaching the Bible. There's some messed up stuff in the good book. Incestuous rape, murder, infanticide, a requirement for the subservience of women, anti-homosexual sentiments, and on and on and on. Have you ever read Leviticus? If not, check that out. Should a public school be allowed to make students literate in these parts of the Bible? And what about the parables? And what about the miracles? And the supernatural passages that contradict the exact things students are learning in the period before in a science class? Do we entertain and discuss the authenticity of a man being swallowed by a whale? Or the earth being created in 6 days? Some people believe these are just stories. Some people believe these are literal facts. Who decides through what lens those are taught? This is a dogmatic nightmare that over the course of 2,000 years has split the Christian faith into innumerable divisions. And you want to inject that and all those interpretations into a public high school class? In that same vein, what version of the Bible do we use? The text of the bill says a student shall not be required to use a specific translation as the sole text of the Hebrew Scriptures or New Testament, and may use as the basic textbook a different translation of the Hebrew Scriptures or New Testament from that chosen by the school district, which again sounds great on paper, but makes for some serious questions when it comes to implementation. Jews, Catholics, and Protestants all use different versions of the Bible. Even some Protestant denominations use different versions of the Bible. What happens when a teacher decides to use a certain version that does not match the Bible of the other students? What do we do when the teacher tells the students to open to Romans chapter 4 and a Jewish student raises their hand to say, "I don't have Romans in my Bible"? What if the teacher is operating out of a Catholic Bible and wants a room full of Protestant students to read out a 2nd Maccabees? Not only does this create an instructional issue, it opens the door to a lot of ill will and controversy that surrounds the divisions in religion. I know a quick way to solve this. Don't bring Bible literacy into public schools. And number 5, if the Bible is taught, shouldn't they also teach? Is Representative Ben Baker and the religious right he caters to so entitled that they believe the Christian Bible is the only religious text worth studying? If House Bill 267 allows Bible literacy bills to be taught, why stop there? Would Representative Baker and the religious right be comfortable if they taught Quran literacy classes? What about a course on the Book of Mormon or the Vedas? Or to be even more inflammatory, what about a class covering the content, characters, and narratives of the Satanic Bible? Simply put, no. The same people pushing these Bible literacy classes would shudder at the thoughts of students learning about Muhammad or Moroni or the writings of Anton LaVey. They would call it unconstitutional and say that the public schools are trying to indoctrinate the youth into what they perceive as cults. And that, my friend, is hypocrisy. So let's keep all of the holy texts out of the classroom. In conclusion, there are plenty of serious issues with House Bill 267, and it should not move forward. I stand committed to doing all I can to stop it from passing. Regardless of your religious preference, I ask you to join me in the fight by contacting your state representative and imploring them to halt House Bill 267. If that fails, contact your state senator. And if that fails, contact Governor Parsons and ask him to preserve the separation of church and state. Because after all, if you truly feel that your students' learning is incumbent on understanding the Christian Bible, you can teach them Bible literacy at home or at church where it belongs.